the Divorced Girl Smiling Podcast with your host, Jackie Pilosoff.
No one should have to go through a divorce feeling alone and isolated. The Divorced Girl Smiling Podcast is a production of Divorced Girl Smiling, where every show is 30 minutes aimed to empower you, help you feel validated and understood, and connect you with some of the best divorce professionals in the industry. So grab a cup of coffee or a glass of wine and start smiling as you join us right now for the Divorced Girl Smiling Podcast. Heard everywhere podcasts can be found and always at divorcedgirlsmiling.com. Before we get started, I want to say something about divorce. When people get divorced, they most likely haven't dated in several years, and the thought of putting yourself back out there can be terrifying. Plus, the way people meet and date has changed so much over the past decade, and there are people getting divorced who have never experienced online dating. This is where Alyssa Deneen can help. Alyssa started her company, Style My Profile, to help men and women in dating after divorce. Alyssa has 20 years of styling experience and also spent a couple years on dating apps before meeting the love of her life, so she has definitely walked the walk. Alyssa offers so many things. She can help you write your online profile. She can help you with your photo. She can help you communicate with matches, answer all your dating questions, swipe do's and don'ts. But the most important thing is she can help you stay positive and inspired during those times when online dating seems hopeless. If you want to learn more, you can find Alyssa at stylemyprofilegyc.com. I also want to tell you about a wonderful divorce attorney based in Connecticut. Her name is Sharon Oberst-DeFalla, and Sharon is wonderful. She has been practicing divorce law since 1992, and she can help get her clients divorced via mediation. She's a great listener, a problem solver, and a dedicated divorce lawyer with a passion for helping people achieve fairness, peace of mind, and the best possible divorce outcome. If you want to learn more about Sharon or call her for a free consult, you can find her at oberstlaw.com. And you can find both Alyssa and Sharon in the Trusted Professional section of Divorced Girl Smiling. I give a lot of advice on this podcast, and we have a lot of discussions about how to get through your divorce. But one thing we haven't talked about a lot is, what do I focus on after my divorce? What happens? What is my life going to look like? Who am I if I'm not a couple? How am I going to manage my finances? What do I have to go back to work? And so this whole conversation today is going to be about focusing on your life after divorce. And my guests are Carolyn Biliak and Mimi Sullivan. And these women are the founders of Rebranding Divorce, a community that they started in 2017 that offers courses, coaching, memberships, workshops. What am I leaving out? Retreats. So, hi, guys. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Hey, Jackie, it's so good to be here.
Yeah, we're excited to be here. And we love that you started talking about, we like to focus on what happens after the divorce. Because what Carolyn and I found as our marriages were falling apart is there were a lot of people that have resources for that, like how you get divorced, how you deal with it, co-parenting, and all of the things that come with the actual getting divorced event. And then the resources after that sort of dried up, or we couldn't find any that really related to how we felt and what we wanted in this next chapter.
And you know why that is, I think? I think it's because when you're, the three of us have all been through divorces, so we know when you're going through your divorce, you're living day to day. You're not really thinking about, oh, let me plan my life for after divorce. You're just thinking about how to get through your broken heart over the next day, or how to pay your bills, or how to help your kids get through the divorce. Everything's sort of an emergency. I feel that way. So that when your divorce is final, you take this big sigh of relief, but then you go, "Well, what do I do now?" And I think that's what you guys have started is amazing because somebody can just go to Rebranding Divorce and have all these resources and coaching and meet other people and events and all this stuff to help with that.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're saying, Jackie. Like the day to day was keeping me so focused. But when I put my eyes out, even just like, oh, what's going to happen 6 months from now? How are we going to handle the holidays? What it would be an overwhelming anxiety of like this open void, right? Like I don't know what that looks like and I don't know how to create it. It just feels super overwhelming. Where do I start?
Okay, so I want to tell my listeners what we want to talk about specifically is that Mimi and Carolyn came up with this, I don't know, thing. It's
We
called
call it a
it's
roadmap.
called the post-divorce growth cycle. And this is kind of their philosophy of what they believe and what they've seen from themselves and their clients of what you need to live a happy, healthy post-divorce life. And so we're going to talk about the post-divorce growth cycle and specifically we're going to talk about the 4 phases of the cycle. And then I think people listening, you're really going to be able to relate to this. And I hope you're going to be like, wow, this is me. Yes, yes. And so that's really what the whole Divorce Girl Smiling podcast is all about, helping people feel validated and giving you resources so that you can lead a happy, healthy life. All right. I want to start off with the first phase, which is identity, the catalyst for change. So, when people get divorced, you're now no longer a couple and you really have to you've undergone such change in 100 different ways. So tell me about that.
Yeah, it's identity and coming back to my authentic self. Like the years leading to divorce are typically, it's not like everything's great and then you get divorced, right? So those years leading up tend to be dysfunctional in some way, right? And so you can really lose yourself, not only in how do I keep this marriage alive? Do I want to get divorced? What do I have to do? Who do I have to be? But also like just in the couplehoodness. Like, so we have found I found like once I got divorced, I thought, truly, who am I? I tell the story inside our community a lot of going to the first holiday party after divorce. I was not nervous to go. It was a bunch of friends. I didn't feel like, how do I show up there alone, which is a common problem too. But halfway through the party, oh, somebody just really innocently asked me, so what do you like to do for fun? And I ended up in the bathroom in tears because I thought, I don't know what I like to do for fun. How can I be in my late 40s and think I don't even remember having fun. So that was like really the let's get back to who we really are. How do you find your authentic self again? How do you remember what your identity is in a way that feels like coming home, like really natural? And then
Okay.
nurture that part of yourself.
Okay, and then also, Mimi, didn't you tell me before we started recording the story about the woman who was a singer? And tell me that story. I think my listeners would love to hear that.
Yeah, and I just want to say I think this is actually is a broader topic. I think women in general tend to lose themselves in marriage and they do it without even realizing that it's happening. You know, they're so giving and the things that they love to do, like they give up their hobbies, they give up their Saturdays, and they don't know that all of these things are gone. So I think we talk a lot too about the gifts of divorce and having this moment to reconnect to your authentic self is truly one of the gifts of divorce. So we had a client who, before she got married, and I imagine in for much of her marriage, loved to sing. And so she would find choruses and church groups and holiday events where she could go sing. And so once she got divorced, as we were like working with her, she realized she hadn't participated in a singing thing for years. And when she tried to do it, it felt so far from her and not connected to her. She had really disengaged from that piece of who she was. And so has she started to remember who she was and the things that she loved and feel more confident. And also, in one of the other phases, we'll talk a little bit more about worthiness, but worthy of giving herself, the opportunities to do that, that's a gift that she's sharing with other people. And she's worthy of doing that. So now she's like singing at so many different events. And she'll just text us or when she's at one of our events, talk about all of the singing that she's doing now. And she said, I literally lost my voice during my marriage and now I found it.
I just love that.
I
You're
do too.
listening
It
to
was a
the
gorgeous story. Of course, we're all in tears. Those are like happy tears, but it's like to see somebody remember such a vital part of themselves. First, there's like a little bit of anger, right? That you let it slip away. So that's like you have to kind of work on the forgiving yourself that that happened, but then to just embrace it and own it and start sharing that gift again was really cool to watch.
You're listening to the Divorced Girl Smiling podcast. My name is Jackie Pilosoff, and I'm your host. What do I focus on after divorce? That's what we're talking about today. My guests are Mimi Sullivan and Carolyn Biliak, who are the co-founders of their community called Rebranding Divorce, an after-divorce community that offers courses, coaching, membership, workshops, retreats, and more. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the other 3 phases of their post-divorce growth cycle. We will be right back. I want to tell you about 2 Divorced Girl Smiling trusted professionals who I think are wonderful. The first one is divorce coach Justin Milrad. Justin is a divorced dad and a certified divorce coach and the founder of his practice, Reclaim and Reboot. Justin combines professional expertise with a deep personal understanding of divorce to guide individuals through one of life's most challenging transitions. Having navigated his own divorce, Justin brings compassion, insight, and firsthand experience to his coaching, empowering clients to reclaim their lives and embrace a hopeful future. I really trust Justin. He knows what he's doing. He's an incredible divorce coach. If you want to learn more, you can find him at reclaimandreboot.me. The other professional I want to tell you about is divorce attorney John McKnight. John is based in North Carolina, Raleigh, North Carolina. He's a 2004 graduate of Wake Forest University and has been practicing divorce law ever since. John is wonderful. He's an experienced, skilled litigator, but he can also help you settle your case via mediation. I love John. He's a great person and a great attorney. And if you want to learn more, you can find him at mcknightlawyers.com. You can find both John and Justin in the Trusted Professional section of Divorced Girl Smiling. Welcome back to the Divorced Girl Smiling podcast. My name is Jackie Pilosoff, and I'm your host. And today I'm here with Mimi Sullivan and Carolyn Biliak, who are the co-founders of their after-divorce community called Rebranding Divorce. And Mimi and Carolyn and I are talking about what do I focus on after divorce? What do I do? What is my life going to look like? And specifically to address these questions, we're talking about the 4 phases of this post-divorce growth cycle that was developed by Carolyn and Mimi. The second phase is self-care, a foundation for boundaries. This was my favorite one because, and you do say this is the cornerstone of the post-divorce growth cycle. And people think self-care, it's like, oh, self-care, yeah, I need to go get a massage or a pedicure. It is so much. I mean, yes, that's important, but it is so much more than that, right?
Absolutely. We actually call it radical self-care to differentiate between self-care and radical self-care. And we are huge fans of self-care. Get the massage, right? Go get whatever makes you feel great physically, emotionally, mentally. But those are external things. The radical self-care is really how are you taking care of yourself from the inside out? How are you speaking to yourself? What are you consuming through social media? how are you taking care of your soul, right? Because once you start really nourishing your soul and taking care of yourself at a radical level, everything else improves. Your boundaries improve, your self-worth improves, how you view the world improves, the messages you hear about yourself improve. It really is that cornerstone.
All right. Now, when I hear boundaries, I think of your relationship with your ex. If you're still letting your ex make you feel bad about yourself a year after the divorce, then that's not healthy. And we need boundaries because you no longer ever have to talk to him unless it's about the kids. And that might mean, you're using an app or you are saying, I only want to communicate through text or email. There's no reason for us to speak. So that's an example, I would think, of a boundary that will help you and that is really self care. Other boundaries might be relationships with your friends. Let's say you have these friends that you go out to dinner with, and every time you come home, you just feel terrible about yourself because they're like not your people anymore. You've changed. And maybe they're too superficial, or maybe they cut you down, make you feel not so great about yourself. You don't have to get in a fight and tell them you're never speaking to them again, but you have every right to just not use your time by going out with them, right? Is that what we're talking about here?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. We actually
It-
call them like enforceable boundaries. And what one of the things we teach inside of our courses is how a lot of people who are new to boundaries or yeah, like don't feel kind of worthy, they think boundaries is being mean, is about me saying to you like, don't show up a minute late, right? And so then that person shows up 10 minutes late. What are you going to do? Then you feel like, oh, I don't have any control over my life. We really start talking about the boundaries are for me. So I can say to you, if you show up 1 minute late, here's what I'm gonna do. I'll only wait 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, I'll be gone. So we really talk about like how how do you radically take care of yourself with your own boundaries that are meant for you. I don't want to talk to my ex. I'm going to use this app solely. If he texts me on my phone, I'm going to go back to the app, right? So it's really about learning not to have these harsh boundaries to, like, punish somebody, but to take care of yourself.
And also, the thing about the person being 5 minutes late, can I just say, because I used to have this thing where I was always late and it was really rude, and I made a New Year's resolution, like, in 2014 that I wasn't gonna be late anymore, and I'm never late now. I just decided because when you're late, you're disrespecting somebody else's time. And so can't you just say that to the person? Can't you say, "I love you. I love getting together with you, but, I feel like you're not respecting my time because 'cause I'm sitting here waiting for you, and I'm a really busy person, as I know you are too." Isn't that in itself self-care?
Absolutely. And I think what that also is demonstrating is your sense of self worth, right? I am worthy of asking this of the other person. Like, I am worthy of asking them to respect my time. So they really are, self care and self worth interrelated and very connected. And as you build your own self worth, then other people will notice and they'll start treating you with more respect and it all becomes easier. But it's so hard. And I think, especially after divorce, when you're so fragile and maybe you feel like you've let people down, you've got a little bit of guilt and shame. It's an easy time to let those boundaries get super loose because you
Well,
just want to please.
it's really interesting. I also think that, ties into self-love. When you start making those
Yes.
decisions, then you, like, are like, "Wow, I have so much respect for myself," and you're so proud of yourself. But I was gonna say, when I first got divorced, I was not in healthy relationships. Okay, we could do a whole podcast on all the guys I dated that were so toxic. I don't know why I did that. And I think, Mimi, it's just because you said I was really fragile and vulnerable and had no self-confidence and no self-worth. But I also hung out with women who I would never hang out with them today. They weren't good either. So why do women fall into these bad patterns like this, and how do we get out of them?
I think, well, you're playing right into the beauty of the post-divorce growth cycle because you can already start to see how like authentic self and radical self-care can hold hands, right? Like as you're improving, now I really know who I am. I've done work on knowing what my values are, what I want for myself. I can start like tying that into my radical self-care, self-worth. And then we're gonna like spoiler alert, talk about healthy relationships
Right,
and
that's the
how
last thing, yeah.
radical self-care can improve healthy relationships, but I also think society, right, expects women to be people pleasers. So we have a hard time setting boundaries. We have a hard time identifying unhealthy friendships or unhealthy, we're always like our generation of girls were taught to like wait for a boy to ask, right? So we're being picked instead of being pickers.
Yeah. Okay, another thing is you guys talked about this at the beginning of the podcast. When you're in a marriage, you don't just get divorced, it's been bad for a long time. So that's been stripping away your self-confidence. So I think to answer my own question, when I started picking all these bad men and even like the women who I was hanging around with who weren't really healthy for me, I think I had such a low standard because look what I was coming from. And so we forget, I grew up with like really good parents and a happy, healthy family. And it took me a while to get back to that and like say, this is the norm. This is what you strive for, not what, just because someone's nice and is better than your husband doesn't mean he's good enough for you.
Yeah. Jackie, you're making me think of a woman who went through our program years ago. And while she was doing the work, we were meeting through Zoom, and she said to us something that has always stuck with me. She said, doing this work on myself, the radical self care, authentic self, all of this work, it's like somebody is straightening out the funhouse mirror that I've been looking in.
That's
Right?
such a good analogy. Yeah.
Like, my marriage distorted my reality of myself and the world and what to expect from relationships so much that it was like looking at a funhouse mirror. And as I
Right.
do this work, that funhouse mirror is straightening out and I'm seeing reality. I'm seeing my reflection for the first time. It was just such a beautiful way to
Love that.
say that.
So
Yeah.
true. Great way to put it. Okay, let's move on to money. Let's talk about money. Mimi, taking charge of your personal finances is a significant outcome of the post divorce growth cycle.
Yeah.
That's what
And I
you
want to
guys
say
wrote.
this was like, it was interesting because Carolyn, when we started working together, our marriages were falling apart about the same time. Our husbands were very similar. Our children were the same age. So we had known each other kind of like in the peripheral that, dance mom friends or school mom friends, and we really liked each other, but we hadn't socialized a lot. So as we started talking, I was like, all I have to do is get my money pulled together. I said, I know if I can just fix this one thing, everything will be okay. And Carolyn's like, yeah, my money sucks. But what I really want to focus on is just taking care of me. Like I'm putting all of my attention into self care. And I'm like, oh, well, that seems like a luxury that I'll get to after my money gets fixed. Right. And so what we realized was I could fix my money and it'd be perfectly, but if I don't focus on everything else, it's not going to work. But you can see how as you start to work on who you are and what's important to you, and you start to build your self-worth and your boundaries and everything, it strengthens you to work on your money. And like money is emotional, right? It's not math. It's not just 1 plus 1 plus 1, and now I have the answer and everything's gonna be okay. It's all of these self-esteem issues, confidence issues, and I think with money, particularly, women have been left out of the financial conversation. So you have to feel worthy enough and confident enough to kinda step back in there and open that bill you don't know if you can pay, meet with that financial advisor who, makes you feel like you don't know what's going on with your money. It's like that self-confidence and self-esteem helps build that. So as you get more confident about your money and you look at your money and you pay attention to your money, it's like all of a sudden you're not in that. Like for me, I was like, if I have money in the bank, I better spend it quick because somebody's going to come get it. I don't know who I thought was going to come get that money out of my bank account, but I was like, if I don't spend it, it's going to go away because I had no idea where my money was going.
Wow, it's so emotional and it's people are really insecure and they make bad choices if they're not informed. So I would say that part of this is loving yourself enough to talk with and hire a professional you trust to really talk to you about money and your spending habits and how to have a really healthy relationship with money too.
Yeah. My relationship with money changed and without me making any more money. Like, I didn't have to make more money. I just had to be aware of what I really wanted my money to do. I didn't need my money to, you know, have another expensive dinner out. I didn't need my money, to buy another pair of shoes as women are do it or like click buy now in the Amazon cart. And I think that's a lot of, feeling that emotional need with shopping and spending money. So most women with the money that they have right now, and I'm not talking about women that can't pay the bills and, are worried about housing. Like once you've got those basics down, it's so much easier to start to have fun with money and to pay attention to the things that you really want your money to do, and it goes back to knowing what your values are, loving yourself, trusting yourself.
And how about feeling good about spending your money, not feeling guilty and shameful, and just being like, wow, I've worked really hard. I do deserve these shoes or whatever it is that you want. And people feel so guilty when they get divorced, which we could do a whole thing on guilt because it's so unproductive and can be turned into so many, like if you're willing to recognize how unhealthy it is, it can be turned into so many positive things. And, you've had it rough. You were in a bad marriage. You went through a divorce. It was traumatic. Allow yourself to enjoy life, and money is part of that.
It is exciting. Carolyn and I both ended up buying, our very first, like, on our own buying homes, and we know so many women in our program that have done that. They thought, I'll never be able to buy a house by myself. Like,
That's
that just felt
amazing.
so far. And I was like, You can, because we did it, you know?
Amazing.
Or
All right, we're only
ask for a promotion, ask for the raise, ask for your worth. Know your worth and ask for it is part of, like, the money confidence. Not
Oh, I love that.
love
Okay,
that.
we're kind of running out of time, so I want to move on to the last one, which is pretty big. The healthy relationships, trusting and thriving. Tell me about that.
Well, the healthy relationships, right? That's the ground zero for how we all got here. We're all having this conversation because we went through a divorce, which means our relationship became dysfunctional, unhealthy. And all of the things we've talked about play into it. The not knowing who I really am anymore, the not feeling worthy of a really healthy relationship, not and that funhouse mirror, like, I don't even know what healthy looks like if I, you know, it's been so long, or if I'm worthy of a healthy partnership. So really getting familiar with the traits of a healthy relationship. What does that look like? What does it look like to me? What do I value most importantly? We talk about having your deal breakers and your non-negotiables. So non-negotiables are things that every healthy relationship has to have: honesty, integrity, trust, uh,
Respect.
respect, right? So, and then the deal breakers are like, is punctuality a deal breaker for you? It's not for me, but maybe it is for you. So then you have to know what your personal deal breakers are. And then we have ways, that you test that. You can actually come home from a date maybe, or from a friend lunch with a friend, and when you said, like, "I have this really bad feeling when I hang out with this one group of friends." If you know what your non-negotiables and deal breakers really are, you've done that work, then you can sit down with yourself and be like, "What wasn't there? What is missing from this relationship that's making me feel so bad? Or what's lighting me up so much? Oh my gosh, look at all those 10, all 10 are present, right? All the deal breakers are met and all of my non-negotiables are met, and that's why this relationship feels so good to me."
And is this something that you guys talk about in your group sessions, at your events? Because I would think saying things like this, not just to yourself, but to other people and getting their feedback would be so helpful. Like, well, why do you think you're still with him? Well, I don't
Yeah.
really know. Why do
It,
you think? And then somebody would say, like, well, because you don't want to be alone. And I want to tell you, I am alone and I love it. And I learned how to be comfortable being alone for a while. Doesn't mean you're going to be alone forever. But I think that other women can really lift you up, especially when you're in a setting where you're all working on yourselves at the same time.
Yeah. And I think it's fascinating when we talk about these particular traits and we ask women to define, like, what does that mean to you? Like, so if you have to sit down and define what honesty means to me and how I want that to show up in a relationship, and you get super clear on that, and you hear another woman is like, I mean, honest all the time? Like, how important is that? And that's when you start to think, oh, this person is still really struggling with what a healthy relationship looks like. And then some of them, of course, are a little squishier, like vulnerability. Like, what would it feel like if somebody was really vulnerable with you? Like, how would you receive their vulnerability? And some women are like, I just don't think I'm ready for that. And it's like, it's okay if you're not ready for that. And but know that because if you aren't aware that that's how you're feeling, that's how you can slip into repeating an old pattern and getting back into the same relationships that you've been trying to not get into anymore.
Oh, I love it. And what's so nice, I'm almost willing to bet that there's no judgment, even if somebody is still in that place. It's not like your groups are judgmental at all.
No, not at all, and people have worked through some really major relationship issues inside of our group, and it's been so beautifully supportive. Mimi and I say all the time, like, we created this platform with a dream, and but the women who have come and filled it in have really made it what it is, and it's a beautiful community. We do joke, we're like, when somebody's consistently like, "Well, he's just this," or "My partner's doing this," we're like, "Bring him in. Why don't you bring him next week and we'll workshop it together?" It's never happened, but all the women are like, "We'd like to talk to this person, first
I
person."
love it. Well,
Yeah.
guys, we're out of time, but I am so glad we had this conversation. I feel like we were sitting and having coffee and just really empowering, explaining
Yeah.
how we help empower women. I love it.
Can I just add one thing, Jackie? We call it a cycle, a growth cycle, because at the beginning, you're only going to be able to access so much in each of these four areas. But as you continue to go around the cycle again and do the work more, each time you go around the cycle, you're accessing it a little deeper and with a little more understanding and a little more confidence and courage.
Love it, guys. Thanks again for being on the show.
Right.
Thank you, Jackie. I
It's
love
great
it.
talking to you, Jackie.
And if you guys are interested in talking with Carolyn and Mimi, you can find them on their website, which is rebrandingdivorce.com. You can also find them in the trusted professional section of Divorced Girl Smiling at divorcedgirlsmiling.com under the After Divorce category. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. We'll talk to you real soon.